God's going to do something awesome today. Tell your neighbor, I feel a little strange. I ain't comfortable. It ain't good for me, but that's good for God. Yeah. 2 Corinthians 4th chapter, beginning at the 7th verse, New King James Version. And it says, but we have this treasure in earthen vessels, that the excellence of the power may be of God and not of us. We are hard pressed on every side, yet not crushed. We are perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not forsaken. Struck down, but not destroyed. We want to use for our thought this morning. We have this treasure. We have this treasure. Truly, we bless the Lord. Many times we don't realize what treasures we have. You know, Pastor had asked, usually you can do not domestic violence, but you could do breast cancer awareness. And I had to think about some things. And she said, your mother had breast cancer. You know how you forget things. And certain things in history you forget all about. So trying to think of the time or when it occurred. And I called my sister, because we're like 1 year apart, so she said the same thing that I thought. I said, well, if you was 12, I was 13. But you know, we don't really comprehend individuals or think about what they go through, or we don't think about what they're dealing with. You know, you could look at your neighbor this morning and say, I'm a survivor. I just don't look like what I've been through. I began to think about some things and really began to, that's some things that really got in my spirit, because my 65-year-old self began to talk to my 13-year-old self and brought up some things and began to recognize some things that transpired. And I thought about the day when my mom said that she had breast cancer. And I don't know about you, but my mom lived to be 84. And my sister and myself, as I was talking to her, we were figuring that she was 34 years old. And I thought about the insensitiveness that we had as children, that we didn't consider the matter. We didn't consider the things that she was going through. I don't know about you, but I've been dealing with that this week and thinking, she had to be 34. She had birthed all of her children, and many of us, we were breastfed, and she had taken care of us, and she got the devastating news that she had breast cancer. Didn't think about then, but I thought in my mind now how traumatic it had to be. I thought about what she was going through, and in the midst of it, in my 13-year-old mind, never considered or had compassion of what she was dealing with. So many of us, we don't understand that individuals that come through certain things and why they commemorate or think about breast cancer. I've never thought in the 50 years that she lived and survived breast cancer, and never thought about that she was a survivor, never thought about that she had dealt with breast cancer. And back then, they didn't have the technology that they have now. So she had to go with some radical things, and thought about it. I don't know about you, but I thought about she had to have her breasts taken off. I thought about how she had to deal with that mentally, and having, you know, you never see your parents as young people, but she was a young lady, had a husband, had a family, never thought about how traumatic it was for her. But in the midst, she was still dealing with us, and we never lacked anything. Never considered, as I talked to my sister on yesterday, that she was in the fight of her life, and she fought breast cancer, that she might have 50 more years to be with us. And I just thought about that thing. And I began to look, and I was talking to her, and we were dealing with some things, and I actually began to think about individuals, because many of us, we only consider ourselves in most matters. We never consider people that surround us. Just like this morning, even as Elder Helen was saying, you never know who went through what to be in this house this morning. You never know, even in the midst, what people are dealing with right now, because mentally all we ever think about is ourselves. I began to seize the moment. I was thinking on some things, and I know on last week as the church was giving recognition, leadership, and I thought about some things. Many things we don't consider what people really deal with. And my sister, as we were talking, she was letting me know that this Sunday coming would be her 100th day in ministry. Thought it odd, 64, and get assignment to pastor. And she didn't take it lightly, but I knew her faithfulness. My sister literally would leave on the train every weekend. She'd stay at her church every weekend to go to church, because Buffalo and Syracuse is a good place apart. I think the last time that we were up, and I really said to myself, I'm going to have to seize the moment. And I began to encourage her, because you have to understand some things about pastoring, and especially female pastors. And I was telling her that all she could do is be herself. All she could do is preach the word that God has given her. She couldn't be concerned about the haters and the naysayers in the individual, because it's your assignment. And I said, I know it seems late in the season, but God has time and a place for everything. I began to think about my lovely wife, your pastor here at Impact Church. A lot of times we never consider the cost that's paid, what you deal with. And I know I wish I had more months and I could observe female pastors, what they really deal with. A lot of us, you don't understand, matters that come against me would never come against her. She don't have it. She deals with some things altogether different. And I began to think about it. And I said, well, I'm going to have to take opportunity to ask the Lord for a word that would even flow over to Pastor's Appreciation Month as well, since we got so much impacted. And this is the scripture that he gave me. We have this treasure in an earthen vessel. And many a times when we read this, and you got to understand that when Paul penned this, he was dealing with leadership within the church. He was dealing with individuals and letting them know, because many a times you don't understand that the leadership don't often look like you want them to look. They don't often talk like you want them to talk. They may not even often walk like you want them to walk. Now, I can speak differently because I like how you walk. I like how you talk. But that's not coming from this side, but it's coming from the husband side. And I began to think about some things. We never consider the earthen vessel. And I began to look, and it let me know, it says something about earthen vessels, because in those particular times they would take vessels that were cracked, vessels that looked like they didn't have any value. You know how your great-grandmama them used to then go to the bank. They just put it in a can and dug holes in the backyard. You never knew what was in those cans, but some people still digging up some treasures. You know, some of us, we like to go to the Goodwill, because you can go to the Goodwill and they throw things away. And I got a friend at work, he said he had a green jacket at his house where he puts all his savings. I said, you better tell your wife, because if you ever get deceased, she'll get that jacket away. Never consider many things that people find as treasures in. Some of us, you don't even understand. And we look at other people and never really realize that it's some treasures in them. And that Paul, as he was penning this thing, and he began to encourage them. If I had time, I'd have taught the whole 4th chapter, but he was letting individuals know at Corinth that treasures are in earthen vessels, that God takes those things that don't look like much. He takes those things that people seem as though they're not drawn to, and he puts the treasure in. Y'all ain't gonna talk to me this morning. You ain't always been cute as you are. You hadn't always looked like you look. You hadn't always been attracted as you've been attracted. But one thing you can count on, when God gives gifts and put purposes in the individual, is in there. No makes a difference what you look like. See, this is how come sometimes you got to respect who's sitting next to you. You don't know what that person survived. I wonder if I got any survivors in the house. I wonder if I got some people that done come through hell and high water. I know the church ain't full, but guess what? I know in every case that you had to survive something to get through something. You wouldn't be sitting here this morning if you hadn't had a fight on your hand. And matter of fact, somebody ought to just gave God a free will praise, because guess what? You ought to told the devil he ought not let me made it this morning, because all the hell I done went through, I'm going to give God an unadulterated praise. I'm going to thank him with everything that's in me. You know, after I thought about some things, even as my mind went back, I began to think about some of the things that went on in our house after that we heard the news that breast cancer had came. Things began to change. People began to change. We began to talk about how mom began to pray and how things became a whole lot different. You know what? It was a process for the whole house. I wish individuals would understand some of the things that you go through, it's been for your own process. It's been some things that you had to deal with, because people don't know. I may be tore up from the floor up, but I got a treasure down on the inside of me. You know, many of us, we disrespect individuals because we feel as though they don't have this degree, or they hadn't achieved here, or they don't look like you expect them to look. But you don't know what God put down on the inside of them. Paul began to talk to the church at Corinth because they didn't understand that they had treasures all around them. And he wanted to encourage the people of God. He wanted to encourage leadership today. You don't have to be 6'1", fine, blind, and so forth. But guess what? God put treasures down in leadership. And guess what? Leadership able to equip. Sometimes you got to be able to find some treasure. You got to be like them folks that go to the Goodwill. Them folks that go to auctions. Those folks that go in and try to buy these houses and things and go to digging around in them. You know, I was looking and said some people, they found some authentic paintings, and guess what? They found it in their own house. Somebody had it covered up. They found the Declaration of Independence in an old frame, and they were taking it back to get the frame fit, and the man was telling them how many millions of dollars it's worth. I stopped by to talk to somebody this morning that need to understand the treasures that you under are worth a whole lot more than you want to consider them for. I thought about my mother. I said to myself, oh my God, she was praying and fighting and going through that she could spend 50 more years with us. What would it have been like if they had her tuck out when she was in her 34? What kind of life would we have lived? Well, what kind of person would you be if you never met up with this pastor over here that preached the word to you, that nailed some things down in the truth? You know what? Sometimes you need to give credit where credit is due. You got to understand that individuals are placed in your life, whether you want them to be in it or not. But God is ordering your steps. He's trying to put some provisions in your life to save your life. That's how I come with my 65-year-old self. Think about my 13-year-old self that didn't have nobody in mind but me. I thought about a mama that said, I got to fight cancer so I can get this boy where he needs to be. I wonder if I got somebody in this house that would celebrate leadership with me, because you got to understand, a lot of you know, look, I hadn't been here the whole 23 years. I didn't birth the church. I didn't found the church. I didn't go through the hell that she went through that we might be sitting on these pews. Many of you don't even understand. When we got together, this church was already formed. You don't find many female pastors with $100,000 in the bank talking about we getting ready to build a church. I want to talk to Impact that got so many complaints about leadership. I stopped by to tell you today, you might not like how it looks. It may be in a cracked vessel. It may be some things tore up. But guess what? Look at your neighbor and say, we'll survive. I wish I could get me a church this morning. You know what? I'm going to find out who the real praisers are. When he cut it down to a few folks on the pew, the real praisers will come to life. The real praisers will do what they've been created to do. Matter of fact, you ought to look at your neighbor and say, the devil should have killed me when he had a chance. Because I told him if I ever made it out, I was going to bless the Lord with everything on the inside of me. I didn't come to impress you, and I didn't come to impress you. You don't know the hell I come through. You don't know the fight I got to fight, and I'm going to give God my best praise. Don't look at me entitled and identified, because the hell you went through, you ought to tell God, thank you. Yeah. Folk trying to bring the light. I looked at Paul. He said, we have this treasure in earthen vessels. You got to understand, God uses people. He uses those whom he desired to use. You know, I began to learn some things. Many of us, as long as my sister was my sister, I had never been jealous, always would tell individual. My brother always been different. Never allowed jealousy. We talked to her last year. We kicked it, stayed at the house with her. She was telling me her concerns. And she said, do you think that I'm past the material? I said, well, sis, it's like this. Man, what I think is what God thinks. I said, all I know, you've been faithful. All I know, you've been, she said, but I don't have this and I don't have that. I said, that ain't got nothing to do with what God has placed in you. I said, I'm getting old. Let me talk to someone about faithfulness. You can't stop before the time is up. You may feel tired. You may feel like your time ain't came yet. You may feel like you're going to quit. I'm going to talk to you this morning because guess what? Many of you, you're giving up and you're in the middle of what God can do for you. You're in the middle where God getting ready to take you. You know, many of us, we transfer, we leave, we do certain things, and guess what? God be saying, you done messed up your timing. You end up back at square one because you try to jump over certain things that you need to go through. You know, I told my sister I could admire you. I said, you know, when you was a guard down at the prison, you went over there with your pastor up in upstate New York, and then when he moved down to Syracuse, and you stayed at home with my mama and daddy and took care of them while they were sick, made the sacrifices for all those years, and then you kept being connected. You know, my sister loved her pastor. Her pastor a lot younger than she is. Matter of fact, he's about old enough to be our son. And she sticks by him. She deals with him. And guess what? I'm going to tell you something. It's something about being faithful. It's something about dealing. You know, I hear you all the time. Even your pastor, Reverend Golden, you can tell faithfulness. And see, what you got to understand, the treasure that's in you, it comes off the treasure that is in other people, and they deal with you. Because guess what? A lot of things don't look right. Let me talk to you. Many a times in life, somebody always want to say, how'd you get what you got? How did you get to go where you going? How did God bless you with this? I'm going to talk to you. Let me just sit down and get down in you. All you see is the after results, but you don't know the whole story. You don't know the hell that people that done went through. You don't know what they deal with. You know, I told God, I said, God, I want to feel whatever I preach, and he's been messing with me all week long. I couldn't get it out of my head, and I couldn't get it out of my mind. I thought about every time my mother would say to me that she was concerned about her breast, but I was too young and too dumb, too insensitive, didn't have enough God in me then to say, Mama, it's going to be all right. But she kept right on loving me anyhow. Let me talk to some folks. You know, just like many of us, you don't have no compassion because you're not in that situation. You don't deal with folk right because you hadn't had to be confronted with that yet. You know what they used to say, don't throw no stones, because all of us living in glass houses. If you dig one ditch, you better dig two. You know what? What go up, come around. What go up, come down. Many of us as saints need to understand understand some things. We need to keep our mouths off certain things. We need to stop dealing with certain things. Because guess what? Certain things God business. I'm so glad that God handled my mother's business. You know, I thought about it. I missed her so bad. She been gone 3 years ago. Good mama kept on being persistent. And you know what? The cancer was so radical. When they took it off, one side of her body stayed swole all the time. You never thought about when she was talking to me and she would ask me a question and say, how do I look? Do it look like this fit all right? I never thought about she was trying to make up for the lost breath. You know what? Just like many of us, you never think about other folks and be considered. All you think about is yourself. All I was thinking about is my own dumb self, not knowing that mercy and grace was pleading her case. You know what? Same thing with leadership. Leadership look good because you're sitting up here, but you don't know about the hell that you go through all week long. You don't know about the people that you deal with. You don't know how hard it is to fight. You don't know how it is when you're in the red trying to pay out of the red. You don't know how it is when you don't have much and still trying to make provision. I know everybody saying, well, you look good with what you're doing. It ain't because of what individuals is doing. It's because what God's doing. He said, if you be faithful over a few things, I'll make you rule over much. You know what? All the stuff that we're doing this month, churches ought to be on fire and giving God all kinds of praise. Because guess what? Somebody's mama got beat up. Somebody's mama had breast cancer. And guess what? It only shipped this female. I found out if Beyonce Candy can have breast cancer. I found out if the man that played Chef, Richard Roundtree, can have breast cancer. You can have it too. You know, many of us, you got to think about things. Prostate cancer, everything running rapid. But guess what? We have the audacity, now understanding that we have this earthen vessel, this treasure that's dwelling down on the inside of us. I heard what Paul said. Throw that scripture back up there. I want to go through it because I want you to understand that God already has prevented some things. Roll me up one. We have hard pressed on every side. Let me talk to some folk that know about being hard pressed. Look at your neighbor and say, I ain't going to be cute this morning. We're going to have 50 women in white this afternoon. But guess what? I'm going to get my praise in now. Because guess what? I've been hard pressed all week long. You know what? I wish Tank would stop faking the funk. Because guess what? The only weapon I got is my praise. Only thing I got is my praise. When I show up on a Sunday morning, they'll come through hell and high water. Folk want to know how come you always smiling. That's because I've been running for my life. And I'm still ahead. I've been fighting the good fight of faith. Guess what? Many of you, when you got the big smile, individuals be thinking you got it made. You Cadillac and you got it all in a bag of chips. But I stopped by to tell you, don't never let the devil see you sweat. Don't never let the devil see you go down. On a Sunday morning when I come in, if things ain't right, you ought to tell your neighbor, shout your way out, shout your way out, shout your way out. Tell God, thank you. Bless him with everything that's in you. You know, Paul said, I'm pressed on every side, yet not crushed. We are perplexed, but not in despair. Look at your neighbor and say, but not. The devil done messed around with me today. He done told me that God wants me to know, but not. But not. He'd kill you if he could, but not. He'd crush you if he could, but not. Y'all ain't talking to me. I wish I had some folks. I didn't come to entertain you, but I come by to tell you this morning. God's been too good to us for us to act like God ain't done nothing. Oh, I wish I had some real believers in the house. Some folk that would do what they need to do. You know what? If you thank God for what he already done, he getting ready to do the ultimate thing for you. Let me talk to you. Because guess what? The enemy, when he infiltrates our mind, he tells us it's going to be like this. But I tell you what, success don't never look like what you think it's going to be. Success is not what you think it is. And guess what? Once you reach a point in your life, you think you get to a point where you got it made, the devil is a lie. The devil that come up against us, I heard Job declare that the wicked don't cease from troubling. In your word, soul don't be at rest. You know what? The more you get, the more responsibility you got. The higher you go, the bigger the demon. Yeah, I wish I had somebody. You want to be this and you want to be that. But I stopped by to tell you, every time you shift, the level in hell shifts. They send out the bigger hell hounds. They send out them that's coming against you. I used to tell folk all the time, they be like, you a preacher, I ain't no preacher. I'm going to stay a deacon as long as I can. I'm going to be just where I'm at long as I can. Only way I'm going to move, God going to tell me ain't nowhere to go but. Listen. But not in despair. I'm going to show you a clause that Paul throws in, because everything that got a treasure in it got a but not. I want you to understand, when he said, I'll never leave you, neither will I forsake you. I believe I preached the other week. Loneliness only comes because God getting ready to shift you. Your expiration date is about to expire. Y'all ain't gonna talk to me. I've been talking to him about a lot of things. You turn 65, you got some long conversations, because I'll be like, Lord, what's next? What we gonna do with this? And he'll talk to you if you let him. He said, look, expiration date getting ready to expire. Some things getting ready to happen in your life. I thought they wanted a prophetic word for their life this morning. Somebody ought to be listening, because guess what? You think you're going to stay in the spot you in. You think it always going to be like that. But I stopped by to tell you, I heard in Sunday school today that if you would humble yourself and if you would begin to pray and seek God's face, he'll turn some things around for you. Somebody says, hard to humble myself. You ain't been through enough hell. Understand that it ain't hard for me to humble myself. I done found out God got everything under control. I don't have to go through what Manasseh went through. You don't have to drag me through the city street, because guess what? I'm an obedient child. When you say move, I'm going to move. Y'all ain't going to shout with me, huh? Well, anyway, let me go where you at. Let me get where you at, because it don't look like you want it to look, or it don't feel like you want it to feel. That don't mean it ain't right. I stopped by to tell you, once it get uncomfortable for you, God getting ready to move. Once you can't understand what's getting ready to happen, once you give up control and say, God, I'm going to let you drive, because I've been going in all of the wrong places. I've been thinking all of the wrong things. I've been messing up from day one. I'm going to let you handle it. Look at your neighbor and say, I'm going to let God handle it. I wish I had somebody up in here today. Somebody would say, God, if you take control, I'm going to let you drive this bus. I'm going to let you take me where you want me to go. I'm going to let you do what you need to do. Somebody say, I got a treasure in this earthen vessel. I stopped by to tell you, God messed the devil up when he put treasures in ugly people. God messed the devil up when he put treasures in broke down folk. God messed the devil up when he started changing. Oh yeah. That's what they tell you. That's how come the devil, first thing he always say, you ugly, it ain't gonna never be nothing. God be looking and say, I got gold in them. He don't even know what they dealing with. He don't even know what they talking to. Look at your neighbor and say, I'm a survivor. I've been dealing with things all my life. But guess what? He ain't never left me. Neither have you ever forsaken me. No, I heard what he said. He said, if you meet thy faithful unto death, you shall receive a crown of righteousness. I wish I had somebody that they had somebody like Paul when he told Timothy, you got to endure hardness like a good soldier. Look at your neighbor and say, you got to learn how to fight. You've been sitting around whining. God needs some folk that ain't afraid of the devil. He needs some folk that'll go to warfare with him. He needs some folk that say, I will not be moved. I'm just like a tree planted by the rivers of water. I might bend, I might shake, but I'm not going to be moved. Listen, I want to encourage you. I thought about it. Yeah. Things mess me up because it costs something. You don't know what some women pay. Take both breasts off. My mama lost one breast, and she said, Bruce, would you do such and such? My mama, I won't do that. Same breast that nourished me. Same breast that got me to a place in my life. Y'all don't talk to me. You know, you don't know the cost that people pay to feed you. I've talked to leadership. You don't know the cost that people pay. You don't know what they deal with. I thought about that thing. I thought about Isha. I thought about my mom. I thought about my daddy. I said to myself, they had 5 of us. I had to keep going. My daddy went to cooking. I said, man, it was a struggle. But none of us lost a beat. It was so good. I couldn't remember the 50 years later that my mama had breast cancer. I've been sitting here just thinking to myself, how could you have been so selfish? Man, how could you have been thinking about nobody but yourself? So I say, you're just like the people of God. Ephesians say, I give them gifts. Give them teachers and preachers to help them to grow. And all we want to do is complain about what they feeding us. And I thought about it. How can you have a whole house full of children? Feed them the same thing. Some grow immature, and the rest of them starve. And they eating the same food. I want you to think about some things. It's a high cost paid for everything. I'm going to be finished. I want you to get but 9, but he said, always caring about in the body the dying of the Lord Jesus, that the life of Jesus also may be manifested in our body. For we who live are always delivered to death for Jesus' sake. Talking to the leaders here. How many, you know, said Manasseh had Isaiah sawed in hand. We didn't get on down to the deep nitty gritty. God still forgave him. How many prophets we gonna get cut in half? How many prophets got to die? Always may be manifested in our mortal flesh. So then death is working in us, but life in you. If you ever had an opportunity, you sit down and they tell you what it takes to get a sermon together. If you're charismatic like myself, on average, once you leave off the pulpit, it's equivalent to 5 miles. You don't broke a sweat. But I'll stop by and tell you, any preacher worth their own salt that's trying to fulfill their purpose and their destiny. Because see, every time you preach the word, I'm not trying to measure up to nobody on YouTube. I'm not trying to measure up with nobody in this city. When I get done, and I go back in that office, what I gotta know is I did all that I been required and had the capacity to do. See, folk don't never see you when you got to lay down and you're quivering and shaking. You don't see the part of the life that leads your body. You know, I was telling the Lord, I said, God, you've been good to me. You let me work on a job. And I got folk all around me. They got knee problems. They sick. I got some in their 50s. They had to leave, go on disability. I've been preaching 30 years. I've been on that job 30 years. And I can say like Caleb and Joshua, I'm just as strong when I went in as I'm getting ready to come out. Listen, sometimes you don't understand some things about time and what God does. Everybody got a different process. I stopped by to tell you, there's some things God getting ready to do for Impact. But the prayer I prayed, I said, God, I don't ever want to be one of those pastors that's broke and got to embezzle and steal money from church to try to pay my bills. I have always told them. And then folk always threaten you, I'm getting ready to leave God. I ain't worried. They ain't got to worry about it. Folk get upset with you. I've been in it 30 years. I've had a lot of folk mad with me. He said, don't be concerned, don't worry. It's all part of your process. I see God always turning some things around. You know, I be loving people now. I done got old enough to understand. Like my mama understood that I was 13 and stupid and couldn't understand, but she loved me. Oh, my mama loved me. Didn't get mad because I couldn't feel her pain. That's how pastors have to be. You can look and say they're immature and they don't understand the process. But my mama said, I'm going to be here. I'm going to stick this out. I'm going to stay here for these kids. I'm not going to leave John down here with these kids. You know, your family make a big difference in how you come out in life. Having a mama and daddy make a big difference. I know. I come out of a neighborhood where folks just want to come by my house. And they ain't never seen a man sit down at the table and eat with them. Ain't never had a man to hold their hand and take them to the barber shop and say, this is my son. Daughters ain't never had a man to open the door, put it in. They ain't had it. That's why my mama said, I got to stay here. I can't let the devil kill me. Pastor, I encourage you, they don't make a difference. Somebody gonna get it. Listen, I tell you, God's been doing some things because I've been trying to fine tune some things. And he calling individuals from way back. And they telling me now, thank you. Some of them been 40 years and they telling me thank you. Some of them may never grace these doors, but they telling me thank you. That's how come I encourage you. It don't make a difference. You can be in the midst and those that are closest and love you, they'll never tell you thank you. That's how come you got history. Folk don't realize how great you are till you're gone. Then they look back and want to write your autobiography and talk about how the great things you've done. When folk can give you their flowers now if they get out of their self. You know, it's a funny thing. You got people that know if you hadn't spoken their life, that they wouldn't be nothing like they are. If they don't know, they will know. Some things only come in time. I tell you, I had time this week. I almost told Pastor, I can't preach that. Because I thought about just how insensitive I was all those years. Love my mama, hug my mama, kiss my mama, and never thought about what it cost her to be sitting there telling us how lovely and how sweet we are. Never thought about what she paid. I thought about that thing. I'm wrestling with this. I don't know if I can preach that message. I don't know if I can tell that. I was just as wrong as two left shoes. Just like some of us, just as wrong, three left shoes. Ain't it something? You want to run somebody, and they the one cause you to have life. Whether it be physical or spiritual life. You know, you got folks that didn't even know Genesis from Revelation. And you taught them the word, and they're able to go in the Bible now. And they talk about how they're able to go in and exegete and how they can go in and pull things out. And they didn't know the Old Testament from the New Testament. And have the audacity to want to tell the elder or the pastor that spoke in their life. Well, I think it ought to be like this. I told them, I don't even have permission to think in your presence. You ain't never done nothing but right by me. I know folks don't like to hear that. But see, some of us got an opportunity to get some things straight in our life. Yeah. You have children, they walk around, now they try to tell you what to do. Tell you like my mama say, they couldn't even wipe their own behind. And they had yellow droplets coming out of here. Let me talk to you today. Listen. Church is the same environment. You here to learn. You here to be taught. If you're going to come up, and it behooves me, I'll tell anybody. I started at Lincoln Street. 10 years, I was in the same parking space for 10 years. Faithful. Every Wednesday, I drove the van. Faithful. I coached football. I had cheerleaders. Didn't miss a Sunday. My pastor gave me them van keys with water in his eyes. He said, I depended on you. Didn't let him down. See, folk want to think ministry all about glamour and gleam. It ain't like that. See my pastor get out. Water pipe done busted. He taught me how to use lead and get the pipes back together. Seen him baptized in 10-degree weather. We taking them down into the baptism. Heat element didn't work that night. Put him in, but I had to pull him out. We got all the comfort, all the bells, all the whistles. But they ain't got no commitment. No commitment. Folks want to know what's going on in the church. No commitment. I've seen commitment. I seen Pastor sit, stand up in the pulpit, hold on, preach a word to the people. Nobody knew what he was going through, but he was getting the job done. Now I get a cold, get out, you get this, get that. Pastor told me, Deacon, don't quit your job. Don't quit your job. I'm still obedient to it. You say if things go to looking good, don't quit your job. Why do you say that? Because when he retired, I went by the house, I sat down and talked to him. I said, how's it going, Pastor? He said, I paid my tithes. I said, wait a minute, I paid my tithes. And I couldn't even get paid. You're talking about a retired man that worked all his life, paid his tithes. Went by and talked to him, he said, to kick that off, somebody broke in my house and they stole all of my savings bonds. I said, Pastor. He said, but God had a ram in the bush. I had one granddaughter. And I called her. I told her I ain't never been broke. She wrote me a check for $3,000 and put it in the bank. See, folks don't understand what it costs. You think a nice suit and a pink tie is all it costs to be up here? Oh no. It costs something. It costs something. I'm finished, but I hear Paul saying, the pastor has rights. Don't they have rights to a wife and a family? Don't they have rights? If you read the whole 14th chapter, it says, we have this ministry. I ain't got time to teach it all. Read it. Read that whole chapter. The 4th chapter. We have this ministry. We have the earthen vessel. It involves every Christian that has a gift in them to contribute to make ministry go forth. Everybody, everything that has breath, praise ye the Lord. I'm finished. I'm gonna sleep tonight. I ain't been able to sleep. This thing been on me. But I understand that God wants us to know that it costs. It costs leadership, whether it be in your house, in the church, it costs. Many of you, your children ain't figured it out yet. It costs somebody something for you to have and be sustained. It costs. But we have this earthen vessel. We may be dirt, but we got a treasure down on the inside of us. Come on, stand to your feet. I'm finished. God's a good God. We're going to get ready for that time.